So let's get into the first subject. The first subject is from homeless to tech careers. Meet 4 San Franciscans who pulled themselves out of despair with tech training, landing jobs at companies like LinkedIn and Apple, guys. Homeless to tech careers. No excuses. 2022 is a year where we don't have excuses. That's the motto in the Black Heights Network. We get it done. No excuses. No excuses. I can say, you know what, I'm gaining weight and not choose to do anything about it. I'm not going to have any excuses. I'm going to get my butt up and get stuff done. Hire a coach and get it done. If you want to get in tech and you don't know where to start, you should be watching a channel like this or talking to people, reading articles like this instead of spending your time on live streams that doesn't count and doesn't benefit you in the long term of your career or in your life. So, no excuses 2022. And if you can go from being homeless into tech, making money, guys, there's no excuse for you. There's no excuse for you. But let's jump into this. Some 18,000 people are homeless in San Francisco, according to the city's health department. Some say gentrification by prosperous tech industry is a big contributor. Tech always wants to be the solution with free training and services like Wi-Fi. With $5,500 in Dama, Tibri's bank account, the single mother of 2 moved from Fresno, California to San Francisco in November 2017. She was a regional manager for the Veterans Affairs telephone operators, but since she voluntarily relocated, she wasn't given a relocation stipend to help with moving expenses. When we got to San Francisco, it was not enough, Tibri said of her savings. Not at all. Unable to afford the upfront fees needed to secure an apartment, she lived out of a hotel. And within 2 weeks, her savings were gone. And she found herself with a shelter with her 2 children. She found herself in a shelter with her 2 children. Guys, $5,500 in the bank. Make a big move. Go to San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world. Has to live in a hotel, burnt through her savings, 2 children. What's your excuse? What's your excuse? At the time, her daughter was 5 and her son was 3 months. She picked up extra income through social services work programs, including filing papers for a nonprofit and working as a security guard at a flea market. The extra income was still not enough. She hustling though. That's the thing, she hustling. She's not down and out. She's not sitting on YouTube listening to garbage, listening to things that are meaningless. She says, okay, well, you know what? I have 2 kids to feed. I need to go out there and find something to hold myself over. But it still isn't enough. It's in San Francisco. Tibri is one of thousands of ambitious people who moved to San Francisco only to end up homeless after bouts with illness. Well, let me read that over. My apologies, guys. Tibri is one of thousands of ambitious people who moved to San Francisco only to end up homeless after bouts with illness, a traumatic event, or a simple bad luck. San Francisco's housing supply is famously limited and expensive. The average rent for a 1-bedroom in the city is about $3,300, according to the data from Apartment List, more than double the national average of $1,600. Yes, it is expensive. I lived in the Bay Area for a year after we came back from KL. I'm gonna tell you like this, we moved into a 1,300 square foot house that we rented for a year, and our mortgage or our rent was $4,300. It was a small house, but it was comfortable, but it was expensive, very, very expensive. The city's homelessness situation has reached crisis levels in recent years, prompting fierce debates over the best solution. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, the city hasn't conducted an official point-in-time count of homeless people since 2019. That count identified as 8,000. That's a lot of people that's homeless, guys. While many blame the prosperous tech industry and the gentrification it brings as a major instigator of homelessness, tech has always become a way out for some. Nonprofits and tech companies in the Bay Area have joined forces to help get people without any previous tech skills gained and train them they train them to get into high-paying tech jobs. And these programs offer free code training, Wi-Fi availability, a job training programs, and so forth. And while this is not a solution for everyone, people involved with such programs tell Insider the efforts have helped some homeless people land jobs at Apple, LinkedIn, Momentive, and Facebook. Meta, they say. From streets to a job at LinkedIn. Preston Fawn spiraled into depression after a good friend of his died by suicide. It really took a toll on me, Fawn said. No one really understood me, and I just kind of crumpled up. Guys, I'm gonna say it like this, right? There's gonna be programs out there for many of the other genders, but for men, a lot of this stuff, it isn't offered. It isn't offered. It isn't offered at all. And a lot of us have to, take the bull by the horn and create for ourselves, or either join communities where there's help being offered to men, And they exist out there. They do exist out there. It just seems like it's harder to find. But Fawn was living in Washington with his older brother and his brother's girlfriend, now wife, until his brother had a heart attack or a heart-to-heart with him. They were trying to start a family and move forward, Fawn said. They couldn't have me just marinating in the living room, looking really depressed all the time. Just before his friend's death, he was studying programming through a boot camp called Coding Dojo. I figured the first place to go would be San Francisco, he said. That's what I thought would be where the tech industry is. So in December 2016, he moved to San Francisco with $250 in his account. The first 3 nights, he slept beneath the stairs of a house under construction, and he then bounced between the streets and shelters, learning that people who often waited in line for hours to get into the shelter. Even if you get in, you're only really guaranteed a bed, he said. You might be sleeping in a chair. Guys, it's tough out here. It's tough out here for some people. It is tough out here for some people, guys. If you're going through depression or anything like that, and you don't have a place to go or a path, you need to get some help. You definitely need to get some help. But when you start to pull yourself up and you get the help that you need, realize there are resources that are out here. We talk about them on this channel. We talk about them, through articles, that you can get the training that you need in order for you to get into tech and make a good living for yourself. And these are stories of individuals who've gone through some rough times, picked themselves up, and just executed without any damn excuses. So, after 4 months of shelter, Fawn came to realize he wasn't alone in his troubles. They were kind of lifting me out of this depression, and my life started to feel more meaningful, he said. They were sharing similar stories about their sadness and how they're trying to get over it. He also began to go into therapy to process his grief. You don't really know you need therapy until you actually go, he said. Fawn had heard of a job readiness nonprofit program called Code Tenderloin before moving to San Francisco. After he moved there, he visited the nonprofit only to find out the program wasn't going to start for another 16 days. He completed an interview that ensured he was committed to it, and a week later he was accepted and dived deeper into coding. The program is meant to help people who may have barriers that prevent them from getting a job, getting back on their feet, Fawn said. They try to break down barriers. Code Tenderloin has 115 volunteers from the tech industry who are tasked with helping people who might have zero computer literacy get certificates in Google Technologies, Microsoft Office. They also teach website coding skills such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The program also teaches people how to tell their stories in interviews and prepare for work in a corporate setting. So guys, it's all the stuff that we talk about on this channel. Getting the education, getting the help, seeking help, right? Preparing for the interview process, understanding how to sell yourself. These are resources that exist out there. And the program partnered with big tech companies, including Twitter, LinkedIn, Slack, GitHub, and Airbnb, so its students can visit their office and network with people who work in the jobs they aspire to get themselves into. This was how Fawn got a job at LinkedIn as a junior software engineer. I was actually able to talk to a few people at LinkedIn where I shared my story of being homeless, and they actually resonated with that. He said that LinkedIn has just started its Reach apprenticeship program, which seeks to give opportunities to people from diverse backgrounds. He was also granted housing through the program. He said his experience with homelessness helped him become a better software engineer. You have to be a problem solver, he said. You have to never give up, really, no matter how many times you fail. He now works at Apple as a developer. I'm super proud of being a part of this team, he said. Guys, no excuses. No excuses. And here's a piece of it, right? If they can do it, I can do it. That's the message here that I want to resonate with you all who have been on the fence about getting into tech, or if you can do it, you can. There's a job out here in tech for every one of us. You can do it. Just put in the work and get it done. These are stories of individuals who are, some people would say, down and out. I'm like, if you go to, any of these big cities, I live in Austin and there's homeless population here, absolutely terrible. But if you see individuals that are homeless, you kind of look at them as they're down and out. They're in a bad situation. But just imagine if they can, people who once were homeless can turn their life around to get into tech and make a living for themselves, what you can do. Many of you already have a job. Many of you aren't struggling like this. Many of you haven't seen friends die or had friends die on you, or haven't had many issues that you've gone through. And if you have, as Fawn mentioned, you got to seek therapy. But ultimately, when you get out of that state, you can find yourself getting paid a lot of money. And that's why I wanted to bring this article to you, because again, no excuses in 2022, guys. No excuses in 2022. Examples of individuals who have put in the work and got it done. Examples of individuals who have put in the work and have got it done. And I'm going to drop this article in the chat for you guys so that you can read a little bit more into it. There's quite a bit of people that they're talking about here, 4 individuals, and I'm not going to hit on every single 4, but I wanted you to see that you can do it, guys. You can do it. All right.